flight here like last night? And at what point did you guys as a team sort of shift from celebration mode to back into business mode?
I honestly think probably when leaving the clubhouse, switch from, celebration mode to, locking it back in. We even had to, right when we got on the plane, we had to decide on, like business kind of stuff as far as like playoff shares go and all that stuff. So they say, hey, we need this by the end of the flight, so you can't be drunk and handing that stuff out. So, otherwise somebody's going to get way too much and somebody's not going to get enough. So honestly, I think by the time we were on the plane, everybody's still in a great mood and feeling, really good. But you are locking it back in, and I know for me, coming down a little bit, you're on such a high, and you're playing 18 innings, which it's not just a regular 18 innings, right? There was a lot of emotion in that first game, and so then coming down off of that, you get pretty tired and. Then hit the hay later. So I would say, around the flight is when we started to lock it back in.
Mike, all right.
You're the longest tenured player on the team. You got here right after the run in 2015.
Yeah.
How, and I don't know if this is the right word, but unfulfilling has it been that you haven't been able to win a playoff series during that stretch? I
know. It's been, been fortunate to be a part of 3, but haven't won a playoff series like you said. And I think the biggest thing that I've noticed is the teams that make it a regular thing of getting in here, they seem to then have success unless you hit, you just hit that spark and you go. Obviously Arizona did that last year. And then, you had the Phillies as a wild card the year before that. So I do like, that pattern and heading into it kind of, this feels like regular season because we literally played a doubleheader yesterday and now we're playing again today, so there's no off day in between. Tyrone and I were talking about it on the way here. It kind of actually brings a sense of normalcy to it. So, maybe that'll work to our advantage. But it's definitely been a journey, and it's one that I'm not finished on. But that's the goal, is to start making this a regular thing and to start having success in the postseason. I would say that nobody at the beginning of this season thought that we would even be in this position. So for us right now to be here is a huge accomplishment. But I know for the guys in the locker room and for myself, we're not here just to roll over. We think we're a really great team, and we really think that we have a shot. And the last 2 postseasons would point to the fact that wild card teams seem to have something about them. So we're going to look to bring it and give it everything we have, but winning that first postseason series will definitely be the right step in many steps of this goal of winning a World Series, but it's a crucial one that I haven't gotten to yet.
Go Tyler, third row on the right.
We've seen more more stolen bases around the game the last couple of years, obviously. So it's not as rare, I guess, but the Brewers did have the most of any playoff team. What makes them a challenge and that aggressive style that they have? Yeah,
no, you're exactly right. So before the stolen bases, the way that you scored runs was you either hit extra base hits so that you got into scoring position right away, or you hit the home runs, right? So this way, you can get the singles, but then you steal the bag, and now you're in scoring position. So now all they need is a single in order to score a run. And with the pitching that they've had, that is sometimes all they need. So it makes them very, very dangerous on, the ability for them all to just be able to get even just like a swinging bunt single. Now we can steal the bag, and now we're in scoring position. All we need is just a little single. It doesn't have to be much. It could be off the end of the bat, nothing, right? It just puts a lot more pressure on the defense. So for them, they've built a great winning formula around that, where they've put a bunch of really great athletes into the lineup, and then you throw Contreras and, when they had Yelich, obviously Hoskins has hit his fair share of home runs. We had the grand slam on Friday. And then Willie Adames having the year that he's had. You throw those three in there on a really athletic team that is just trying to get that bunt, single, whatever it may be, and get on base and then steal and be in scoring position. It puts a lot of pressure on the defense. So they've had a lot of success with that, and that's been a great recipe for them. And I think that's what led to their success.
Go with Dave, right behind him.
Brandon, you guys have spent the past 6 months, just proving that you're a playoff team, that you're good enough to be that. And you touched on it a minute ago. Does a switch kind of flick, like once you're in the playoffs, like, hey, you know what, now we're just as good as anybody else?
Yeah.
And so do you just narrow the focus and say we have to win however many games to get the World Series? Like, how does the thinking change?
So yes and no. The thinking really, it doesn't change much to what we've done over the last month or two of just trying to win one game at a time. Even just getting into the playoffs was a daunting scenario for us, where we had to win a bunch of games in order to make the playoffs. But you can't think about winning all those games until you win today's, right? So the playoffs are the same situation. You have however many X of games to win in order to be a World Series champion. And it's probably less than where we were, a month ago. But in order to do that, you got to take care of today. So the thinking stays the same. But also on that same aspect, like, it doesn't really matter what the season series was against, the Brewers or the Padres, or like none of that matters, right? Like, you just got to focus on, well, it only matters who wins this series. So, no matter what you did, and we knew that in 2022, and obviously the Padres beat us then. And so, I've been on the other side of that. And, here it's no different. It doesn't matter what has happened in the past. It's all about who's hot right now and who's playing the best baseball right now. So it's kind of almost like a new start to the season. It's a new, opening day. And, it's whoever's the best team right now. And you just focus on winning right now.
We'll go to Tim right next to him.
Following up on the Brewers and their ability to steal bags and that the pressure that applies, as you said.
Yeah.
On Sunday, you guys came out and did basically that.
Yeah.
Was that a conscious decision on your guys' part?
Well, we try and take advantage of places that we feel like we can take advantage of. So, if we feel that, this pitcher has a slower time or whatnot, then we'll try and take advantage of that. There's always risk and reward, right? So if the risk is too great for the reward of it, then no. We do have a lineup that can beat you a few different ways. But if you can take that bag, you should. And so I definitely think it's a part of our game plan, but we're also not in the business of just trying to run into outs. So we're trying to do it, smart and efficient. But if it's in the cards, then we definitely want to take that bag. And like I said, it puts a lot of pressure on the defense. So it's something that is a part of a lot of our guys' game. But we just want to make sure that it's outweighing the risk.
Go third row to the right.
Hey, Brandon, we just talked a lot about how hard it's been for the Mets to win in Atlanta. You all have had some trouble winning here as well the last several years. Why has it been so hard to win here, and how can you go about changing that?
Well, I think, both those organizations have had very good teams over the last few years, and so that's number one. You have to have a good team in order to make them hard to beat. But the second thing, to get a little more specific, is that the Brewers have had very, very good pitching and very good bullpen, especially this year, best bullpen in the NL. And when you can get quality starts, Freddie Peralta obviously is an ace and has been for a little bit now. and then you get to a bullpen that is actually just shut down, and hardly gives up runs. It makes it really hard. You have to have one big hit, a big home run, or even that scenario of getting on base and stealing the bag and getting you still need that another base hit. And that sometimes is hard to come by when you're facing that good of pitching. The Brewers also have just made it a point to be very, very sound in all aspects of the game. And I think they've played very, very good baseball the last couple of years, especially, to where they play good defense, they run the bases well, they have great relief pitching, they have great starting pitching, and there's really just no holes. Like, they're not going to beat themselves. It's not like they're going to outslug you all the time, but they will just not beat themselves. And a lot of time, that kind of baseball, it wins out over the long run.
We'll just do a few more. Fourth row in the middle.
Brendan, along the same lines about playing the Brewers, and then we just finished the series with them this weekend. We're battling for your playoff lives in that situation. Can you take anything away from the 3 games this weekend, or was it a little bit different because maybe they were already setting themselves up, or what do you take from that? It's
different. Don't get me wrong. They're a great team, and it all matters. But in that situation, they had already locked up the playoffs. We're still playing for it. They already have pretty much their rotations, and even their relievers are already kind of said, you're going to pitch this inning, you're going to pitch this inning, because they want everything set up for this series. So now, if you lose 2 games, you're done. So there's a difference in playing that way. Compared to, well, we're in the postseason and these games, we want to try and win, but we're trying to get ready for the postseason. Those are 2 completely different situations in the competitive mindset. So this will be different in that mindset. I don't know, I don't know the outcomes. You guys don't know the outcomes, but what I do know is that the mindsets are completely different. Those games, that first game that we played in Atlanta was completely different than, the 3 games that we played here, because both teams, lives were on the lines for that. So that competitive difference in mindset, it makes all the difference in the world. Now, they got to see some of our pitchers. We got to see some of theirs. They got to see some of the hitters. That all will go into play in how you're doing recently, no doubt. But the competitive nature of the games is a bit different.
Second row, far right.
Hey, Brandon, sort of following up on your assessment of the Brewers, David Stearns had a big hand in putting that roster together. Obviously, there's been some turnover since he left, but he and then put together, the Mets roster. Do you see any similarities in how the teams are put together and where the difference is as well?
Yeah, no, definitely. Similarly, I think David made it very clear that he wanted to have a good defense when he came over here, and he made some switches in order to improve our defense. And then he pointed to pitching, we need good pitching and we need a lot of depth with it. And I think that's something that he did here with the Brewers as well. And then, another thing is we brought in Antoine, and we've focused more on stealing bags this year and trying to take advantage of that when the opportunity arises. So you are seeing a lot of similarities as to, he built a winning formula here and knows how to do it. And he's brought a lot of that similarity into the Mets, even in just 1 year. But I think you're going to continue to see that. And then I also think you're going to see that there's the little bit of difference, will probably come later with probably his just ability to spend more when he's, got Steve as his owner. But, I don't think that's going to just give him he's not going to veer from his what he thinks is important. I think he's just going to add to it. And so I do think that you're seeing a lot of similarities into how he built the Brewers and how he's building the Mets.
All right, last question, back to the right, third row.
You talked earlier about how you score in the playoffs and how home runs are a big part of that in October. 2 years ago, I think your offense averaged more runs per game than it did this year, but you guys hit more home runs this year. Do you think that leaves your offense maybe better equipped for October baseball than 2 years ago?
We'll see. Historically, you would say yes, because home runs, it's I don't know. I think I saw some crazy stat last year where it was like whoever hit the most home runs, we ended up winning like 80% of the time, or so. It might have been even more than that. And I saw that last year, and I was like, goodness, like that's a pretty important stat. Yes, I think it is very important, and I think it does tend to, analytically lean us to be able to have more success. But we'll see, because it's not always necessarily like the Brewers' game. They will hit the home runs. Don't get me wrong; they got the middle of the lineup that will. But I've also seen, like when I watched playoffs in the past, I watched Giants, and when they won, their series, it was just like really, really great pitching, and they had some clutch hits, and they weren't always home runs. It was just like they'd get a single here when the guy's on base, and so. Anyways, I feel like there are stories of both in the past, but I would tend to believe that yes, when one swing can change the game, just like it did yesterday with Francisco, at the end of the game, I would tend to believe that can lead to more success.
Sean, what can you take from your previous playoff experiences that you can apply to this one?
It's just another game at the end of the day. Obviously, it's great implications, but at the same time, it's just another game, and just got to treat it like that. Not try to make it too much bigger than it is, and just feel comfortable out there and feel good.
Similarly, what can you take out of that last start against this team, and what did you learn about them that you need to take into this next start to be successful?
They're a very good ball club. They can do damage when they need to. They got some really fast guys that cause havoc on the base paths. They're just overall a really good club. So, I made a few mistakes last game, but hopefully I'll learn from that and just improve from there.
We'll go fourth row in the middle.
How have you guys kind of addressed just the run game that the Brewers present as a pitching staff?
Yeah, they're very aggressive. They got a lot of really fast guys, and then when they don't, the guys in the middle part of the lineup can do a lot of damage. So, it's kind of a balance of, keeping an eye on them and but also worrying about the guy at the plate. They really just got to mix things up and just keep them off balance.
Go to Tim, same row.
Tomorrow is potentially your last start of the season. How do you evaluate your body of work this year?
It's been good. Really proud of the work I've been able to do. Stayed healthy for the whole season, and we've made it this far. So I'm just really excited to pitch tomorrow, and hopefully it's not my last.
And with you, right. With you likely headed for free agency after this season, what sort of interest do you have in staying with the Mets beyond this season?
That is a bridge we'll cross when we get there.
We'll go back to Tony in the front row.
How many haircuts have you had since spring training? And is there a strategy behind them?
No, never any never any strategy. I've had two major transformations. As you guys are well aware, I had long hair. And then I had a haircut, which I didn't like, so then I shaved it. And then a bunch of haircuts in between them. So, I'd say two major haircuts and then a couple, upkeep haircuts. So, yeah.
We'll go back to the middle, fourth row.
There's been a lot over the course of the season about kind of the transformation you've made from where you were in April to where you are now. I guess, how does that kind of position yourself to have success here in the postseason, do you feel?
In terms of what?
Just like obviously the arm slot, and just like how you've kind of crafted yourself this year to become a more complete pitcher.
At the end of the day, just you know, if I can have confidence out there and throwing strikes with everything, with all my pitches, you know, I feel like good things can happen. And those kind of mechanical changes have helped me do that. So really it's just simplifying everything to go out there and pitch to the best of my ability. And I think that's just something I've been able to do.
Same row, far right.
You talked about just trying to handle tomorrow as like another day, another game. Is that something you've learned over time, or in past, you know, playoff performances? Did you think this is the playoffs? I need to, you know, throw harder, or whatever you think there?
Yeah, I mean, it is the playoffs. There's obviously a lot of energy and buzz going around, and you know, I'm trying to match that excitement and not try to fight it. You know, at the end of the day, all the stuff I've been able to do is kind of prepare myself for moments like these, and you know, it's pitching. You know, I faced these guys a few times over my career, and you know, my last start was against them, so they know what I got, I know what they got, so it's just going out there and battling and competing, and nothing more than that.